A huge warm welcome to the art vlog with me, George Dopamine. Welcome, art lovers. Today I want to take you inside the new exhibition here at Tate Modern in London called Capturing the Moment. It promises to explore that really interesting relationship between photography and painting as artistic mediums. Because I think it's fair to say, since photography became commercially viable in 1839, there's been a sometimes fractious, sometimes incredibly fruitful relationship between paintings and photography. And this exhibition promises to explore that relationship. Just as excitingly, it contains work from the Taiwanese Yageo Foundation, the private collection of Pierre Chen, a multi-billionaire Taiwanese businessman who seems to have a knack for collecting choice examples of modern and post-war art. This show is on all the way until the 28th of January 2024, so it's stretching all the way into next year. It's £20 to get in, so come and join me as I come inside and explore this show and ask the question, how well is it going to fulfill its curatorial brief? Well, I hope you enjoyed that walkthrough there from the Capturing the Moment at Tate Modern. As you can probably see, I'm back at Dopamine Heights, having hot-footed it straight from Tate Modern down to the White Cube Bermondsey to see an incredible Anselm Kiefer show, Finnegan's Wake. Do stay tuned for my review of that. And I wanted to also give myself a bit of time. And my thoughts are kind of mixed with this exhibition, really. I split it into kind of the good, the average, and the ugly, sadly. And if we start with the good, because we're all about on the Art Vlog supporting the UK art scene, and it's been through a really tough time with COVID. Obviously, the gallery's having to shut, and they're still, and I know Tate Modern is, just getting back on their feet, really. And so the good about this was some of the wonderful paintings that you will see, especially the ones from the Yageo collection, a private collection of billionaire Taiwanese entrepreneur Pierre Chan. The David Hockney painting, which you saw in the walkthrough, for example, is, in my opinion, one of these greats. One of Peter Doig's first canoe paintings was incredible to see. As well as some wonderful photography. And also, and I have to say, a little bit of a surprise was, to be really reminded that the Tate is still a preeminent collecting institution. Really enjoyed seeing some of their works, like the Jeff Wall photograph, the Miriam Khan painting, as well as some of my favourites, Gursky. There was examples from both the Tate and from the Yageo collection. So there was some really good works, and if you do come along, you might want to see it as a chance to be in the company of these works, because some of them are in a private collection, and although they've been loaned out a fair bit, some of the most famous ones, we can't see them every day. The average, sadly, in this case, was the curatorial narrative thread of the exhibition, because I was really pumped for this exhibition because I think it's a really interesting relationship between photography and painting. They clearly have had a massive impact on each other, and to a certain extent, from room one was full of great paintings, but didn't work for me as part of this narrative thread. But from rooms 2 to about room 5, there was a blunt but interesting message, that basically painting was freed up by photography to be able to experiment and go in crazy directions. And then photography became more and more like painting in terms of playing with the idea of the truth and of representation. And then painting in the room of Gerhard Richter, paintings became massive influenced and almost mimicking photography. So I got that kind of relationship. Sadly, that does break down in the main big room, which contains some masterpieces. So that was not that I didn't tell the story in the way I wanted, and I think there's a spot for Tate Modern to really tell that story properly, with some documentation, with a catalogue, etc. And then we come on, sadly, to the ugly, which is the price. This exhibition cost £20 full price, and that's the same price as the Hilma af Klint and Tate Modern exhibition, which, although I had a few issues with, I thought was good value, because you see some amazing art. It's a big exhibition. It's very detailed, with lots and lots of background in that incredible room in the middle. And so, comparing those two, this is just not a £20 exhibition. Now, I'm always a big defender of art institutions charging fair prices, because when you compare them to West End shows or Premier League football or other forms of entertainment in London, obviously it's usually relatively good value. But for me, this was a £10 exhibition. About a third, I would estimate, of the paintings came from Tate's own collection. And it was almost as if the loans from the Yageo Foundation dictated the themes. Maybe it would have been better to have a smaller exhibition of masterpieces from the Yageo collection, which I remember back in January, that's what I sort of thought it might be. So unfortunately for me, it should have been about half the price in this case, and I'm absolutely not sort of underestimating the financial pressures that Tate have been under. I know that since COVID. So do I recommend it? I would give it a 6 out of 10 for the quality of the paintings. But if you enjoyed what you saw, then by all means come along, because some of these are great paintings to be able to be in the presence of. I'm not sure if I recommend it compared to other art exhibitions currently on in London. In that case, but do make up your own mind anyway from what you've seen. Some of you will really like what you've seen. The last thing I would say is it's having a mega long run till the 28th of January, bearing in mind the Mondrian and Clint show finishes on the 3rd of September, having had a much shorter run. This is obviously dictated by the fact they're dealing with their own works and the works of the Yageo Foundation, but that's a long old run, isn't it? I imagine as a Tate member, I will be going back a couple of times to see some works that I really enjoyed. But I'm not sure if it would be one that many people will be repeating if they do go for the £20. So yeah, my overall thoughts are that it's kind of an opportunity missed, sadly, in this case, of a really interesting story within the history of modern art. But if you disagree, as I said at the start, it's always amazing to see in the comments what you think. And if you were blown away by this exhibition, please post in and say you're wrong, this is rubbish. I love that. I love that when people said about that, you know, was criticised for my view of Spain and the Hispanic world. That's fine. To a certain extent, the actual shows themselves are subjective. Anyway, capturing the moment, £20 on until the 28th of January 2024. Do remember to subscribe to the art vlog. As I've already said, the next review art will be Anselm Kiefer's Finnegan's Wake. And after that, there's a couple more big openings at the Hayward Gallery and the Barbican, which I'm hoping to cover, as well as more from Sussex. I'm hoping at some stage to get on the fast southeastern train down to Margate to see the show down there. Most importantly, do get out there and explore the wonderful UK art scene.